And now, your host, Couch Tomato!
Hey, I'm Couch Tomato, and I'm joined by
Hulk.
Welcome to Stuff for Movie Buffs, and today we're talking
DC movie news, Jurassic World 2, Fallen Kingdom, Star Wars, The Last Jedi predictions.
All right, perfect. Let's jump right into it. All right, so, actually, at the end of the show, we'll be sharing 2 cents from our fans. It's an opportunity we get to let your voice be heard. So a lot of people sent their Star Wars predictions on Patreon, our Facebook page, and we also took some this week from the YouTube community. It's a new feature that they have. So as long as you're following us on any one of those locations, just make sure on a weekly basis you're providing your input to get your voice heard on the podcast. All right, so first to bat, we had some DC news happen this week, and I know, Hulk, since you're the biggest DCEU fan that I know, I believe, you wanted to share this story, and it looks like you're more in tune with it than I am. So for the folks out there who haven't heard about the shakeup when it comes to DCEU, can you go ahead and enlighten us?
All right. So with Justice League, it's been a complete disaster for the studio. It underwhelmed at the box office. It didn't even hit 100 mil in the first week. And basically the way it's looking right now, it's going to struggle to make $700 million. Now, with most movies, that's okay. You know what I'm saying? They're not overly budgeted. They don't have, up to $1 billion in marketing costs. You know what I'm saying? Like for most movies, that's a decent number. But with Justice League, it's a complete disaster. So with Warner Brothers, with this news, like they're trying to basically revamp the studio in a way, as far as like the DC Films aspect. They're going to keep Jeff Johns, but as far as John Berg, they're going to let him go. They're going to look for someone to come in to basically control everything in a way. It's a la like a Kevin Feige with Marvel. So with that in mind, they're also going to, Ben Affleck is not poised to return in the Batman. It's highly unlikely. They said that Matt Reeves is going to look for fresh talent. So Flashpoint, the new Flash movie, that's going to be Affleck's last, Batman movie. And the way it's looking, it's probably going to poised to be like a soft reboot for the franchise. So I don't know. DC is not in a very good space right now, like as far as, production and all that. So like we'll see what these changes do.
In your opinion, is this good or bad news?
To me, I'm waiting because I want to see how far they go with it. If they panic and like start changing stuff, like more and more stuff, then I think it's going to be a bad move. Because I think
this is a sign of panic, but continue.
Because I think sometimes with studios, it's like Marvel didn't panic when Iron Man 2 didn't necessarily hit with like the critics, or
but it
when
made
Incredible
money.
Hulk. Yeah, but still, it's like they understood, like even with Incredible Hulk, like they understood like, okay, Hulk might not be a solo movie. You know what I'm saying? So let's just have him in Avengers. Let's just feature him in other films, which worked out pretty good because Hulk is, one of their popular characters. They just know that, okay, we can't put him in a solo movie.
But also when you look at, you kind of compare it to Avengers, because when they did Avengers, from the after credit scene, you already knew what they were building up towards. Like, hey, regardless if this is a success or a failure, we're leading towards the Avengers regardless, so they kind of went in with zero expectations. With DC, it's like I think they're making decisions on the fly, which is always a problem.
Yeah.
Personally, I think this is not even good or bad news. I think this is fake news in the world that we live in now, because this is no different. When I look at this, I don't believe it. And this is the same exact excuse actors give when they're being caught, like with the whole harassment scandals in Hollywood right now.
Yeah.
When you get caught from a harassment scandal, what's the first thing that you do?
Yeah, you go to rehab, some fake sex rehab.
Exactly.
That won't
because
do
that'll
anything.
cure your issues. And
yeah.
And it's never genuine from the actor because their publicist told them to do it.
Exactly.
And I really think that Warner Brothers, they knew a couple people were going to lose their jobs. So to lighten up the load, they were like, look, 30% of us are getting fired. For the 70% of us that stay on board, let's release a statement saying that we've learned from our mistakes. Let's say that we're changing personnel. We'll create a brain trust around the DCEU to avoid making these mistakes again. I don't think they believe that. And by the way, they did this after Man of Steel, where they said, all right, we're going to have a brain trust around our properties, just like Marvel does. And we're going to have people specifically focused on the comic book division, not Warner Brothers as a whole. So they did that and nothing came out of it. So now to me, it's fake news. You say this because you're about to lose a lot of money off of this movie. And you said 700 million is good for some movies. It's good for all movies. It's just in this particular situation, like the example that I gave with the bad haircut, they made so many mistakes. Like it's like, I don't know, it's kind of like the NBA or NFL, better example. You cannot make mistakes on Sunday. Like any team could beat any team. Like that's like the best. The reason I love football so much is because the disparity between teams. It's like the worst team could beat the best team because it's all about who makes the most mistakes. So if you're like, so the important thing with the sports is you have to control what you could control because there'll be things that are out of your reach. And when those things happen, as long as you control what you could control, you could be successful. The problem with Warner Brothers is they're not controlling what they could control. Because all of the situations that happen with the reshoots and the schedule conflicts and stuff, that's on them. So now the stuff that happened that they couldn't control, Henry Cavill growing a mustache for another film, etc., that coupled with the mistakes that they did made, it equals up to like a 450 million disaster.
Yeah, they're being,
so that's the reason why.
Yeah, they're being reactionary. Like in film or in any art form, like when you're just reacting to certain things, you're not being creative. Creativity is what innovates film. It's what innovates, with movies, with TV, with everything. So as a studio, if you're just constantly reacting to, okay, Man of Steel struggles, so let's just throw Batman in the next movie. Batman versus Superman, didn't hit. Let's just, micromanage Zack Snyder. And then that doesn't work. So let's throw in Joss Whedon. Let's do this. It just doesn't. You have to trust your artists. You have to trust your directors, your producers. You know what I'm saying? People that actually know what they're doing. If you don't, then you're just going to continue to just keep reacting to try to keep up with Marvel, to try to keep up with whatever trend is going on with the client. So it's not looking good for DC.
And the funny thing is they're not even trying to keep up with Marvel. They're trying to keep up with the internet. Like
with critics and fans. Yeah.
Stop trying to keep up with the internet. Like trust your personnel. Don't trust opinions of people who are not even employed by your company. Like whenever you're being reactive, oh my God, you're just in a world of trouble. So that's that. I don't believe this news. You're still treading the water to see if you believe it or not. But trust me, like to me, this just signals the worst for that the DCEU. And I'm actually one of the folks that want to see a world where we have good DCEU films as well as good Marvel properties as well.
Yeah, it's needed. It's needed. Trust me, it's needed.
All right, so moving on. Some good news came out this week. Well, depends on how you feel. Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, a new trailer was released, caught everybody by surprise. Honestly, I didn't know when this movie was coming out because it felt like it feels like it's a little overdue. I just felt they could have struck the iron while it was hot. But nonetheless, trailer was released. Hope, your initial thoughts?
I guess it was okay. Like to me, it looked pretty good. Like it was okay. Like as far as Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard, I was like, okay, I'm glad to see those two characters back. As far as hold on, go ahead.
Your mic. I don't know if it's your mic or mine. It sounded like you said okay, but I think you meant to say awesome.
No, I don't think there's no technical issues. I said okay.
Oh, okay. All right. My bad. I thought it was my mic. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, like as far as like the action and stuff, it was okay. Like I said before, it's just I don't know. To be honest, like the Jurassic World stuff, park and all that. Like I never really was into it. Don't get me wrong. I respect like their success. I respect like the fandom and all that, but I don't know. It just never was me, but I'm not going to knock it. Like it still did a good job to me as far as like a teaser trailer.
You're not going to knock it, but you just knocked it. But speak for yourself. Like I felt like Jurassic Park, it was one of the biggest movies I remember coming out around that age. And for a guy who just couldn't afford to go to the theaters, trailers were everything to me. So I would get VHS tapes at the library based off of the trailers that they had at the beginning. Mm-hmm. And I knew the ones that had Jurassic Park, in the trailers.
Dang, just bro.
Huh?
I said, dang, bro. Like you really wanted to see those trailers.
It was a mess. Like people forget before YouTube, the only way you could see a trailer is you had to get a VHS with that trailer on it.
Yeah.
So I'm not ashamed of that. Like a lot of people forget that. You couldn't go on the internet and look that stuff up.
Yeah, sorry, millennials or young millennials, y'all.
Man, they'll never know the pain.
Never know
the pain. So I like this franchise on how they rebooted it.
Yeah,
because I felt like Jurassic Park is obviously the strongest one of the bunch, but every other film or property from the 80s or 90s that has tried to make a comeback, they've fallen on their face, flat on their face. And for example, Aliens, trash.
Yeah.
Nightmare on Elm Street, trash. Ghostbusters, triggity trash. So the list goes on. I think this movie Jurassic World, broke a lot of records, and a lot of people were skeptical if it was a fluke, kind of like Avatar. But I think Universal knows what they're doing, because I wasn't hyped for this movie until this trailer, because the direction that I thought they were going to go with these dinosaurs, they hinted at it towards the middle and end of Jurassic World. Like you know what I'm talking about, right?
As far as like with the dinosaurs being used as weapons or something, or like,
yes, militarize these dinosaurs, and I just thought that was dumb. I'm like, isn't that Age of Extinction? Like, this is dumb. But so that's why I was like, I'm not interested in seeing a sequel. They've already told us what they were going to do. But then in this trailer, nope. They listened to the fan base. They were like, look, weaponizing these dinosaurs is a bad idea. Let's focus on a rescue mission. And you see them talking to, kind of reminds me of like the Congress scene, which is my favorite scene in Iron Man 2. But where they're talking about, hey, do these animals deserve to live? And should we rescue them? So, and if this was real life, PETA would be all over this. So that's why I'm like, all right, you know what? I buy it. And that's a legitimate excuse to go back to the island. Because I was curious, after the disaster that happened in Jurassic World, how are you going to justify reopening this park or going back to that island? And they found a legitimate excuse. So I think that they're going back to the basics. The trailer sets up a rescue mission. After the events of Jurassic World, a selected group of former Jurassic World personnel travels to the island to rescue some of the dinosaurs, because the island is going to get demolished. It looks like they built it on top of a volcano, which was a dumb idea. But bringing back dinosaurs is a horrible idea. So I believe it. So I like it. I think that this, and keep in mind, I love monster movies. Whenever I could see a giant squish a human, that's entertainment to me. So I'm looking forward to it.
You're sick. Oh man, no, I'm just laughing at your
my justification.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I'll tell you this though. Watching it the second time, I watched it with my son, and watching it the second time for me, the trailer wasn't as exciting as the first. So it's not going to be something like I watched like 80 times, like the Avengers of Infinity War. But watching my kids react, it reminds me like, oh wow, they're building a new audience. This is where Ghostbusters missed out, because Ghostbusters, when they did the trailer, they stuck up a middle finger to everyone who loved the franchise. Yeah, me. That's like Ghostbusters is my favorite movie, by the way. So the fact that I hated it, they stuck up a middle finger to me. But they're also gaining a new audience.
Yeah, they focus way too much on the politics of it instead of just making a good movie. You know what I'm saying? Like,
exactly. Like this one, they're like, hey, we don't need to make a movie about female dinosaurs and equal rights and stuff like that. No, forget the politics. Get yourself a new audience, which is like the 5, 4s, 6, 7-year-olds of today, which my kids loved it, by the way. They're like, wow, dinosaurs are crazy. Dad, dinosaurs exist? And I'm like, because, they don't understand CGI yet. So I'm like, nah, it's just fake. Trust me, they do a lot of stuff with computers, son. So he liked it and I liked it, to where I'm like, man, this is going to be another monster. So now I'm like, that's why they made so much money the first time. It's like the same way we felt about Jurassic. Well, I felt about Jurassic Park, because Hulk didn't have a childhood.
Chill.
It's the same way kids feel about it now. So, and another thing that's going to break a lot of records this week.
Oh, yeah.
What a way to segue, is this thing called Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Mm-hmm. The only franchise that's comfortable being released in Christmas, and it doesn't slow them down when it comes to breaking box office records. So we're going to have some fun. By the time you hear this, it may be too late, because I know pre-screenings will happen this weekend. But in the spirit of this podcast, one thing that we like to do is predict things. And to be honest, me and Hulk have been doing this for a while, and we've gotten pretty, let me stop lying, we're pretty bad at it, but it's always fun. So we try to predict what we think will happen in upcoming films based off of what we see in trailers, photo leaks, etc. So, and the thing is with Star Wars, you never really know, but you always know. Because I think sometimes we give this franchise too much credit. Like we think that they're going to be different when they give us the same thing.
Yeah.
So based on the trailer, what could you expect? Let's have an open discussion about theories and predictions on what you think will happen in Star Wars The Last Jedi.
Okay. It's like with the trailer, it's funny because they use certain things. Like they said, specifically with Luke, with his quote, "This is not going to go the way you think." So I thought that was interesting.
And Luke's always been a guy who tells the truth.
So it's just like I felt like, okay, that was pretty meta of like the Star Wars trailer for it to say that way. Because I think everyone's fear is that it's going to be like refresh my memory, what's Empire, yeah. That it's gonna be something like that. And I don't know, like I think I'm hoping that the brain trust was conscious of enough, like, okay, since Force Awakens is like New Hope, let's not just make this cool like Empire. We'll borrow some of the stuff that we've had success in the past, but we'll also change a few things. So I'm hoping that this is not exact retread.
Can I ask you a question, Hope?
Yeah, go ahead.
What's to date? Because I'm just not sure.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm just a regular old guy who doesn't really read the trades.
Yeah.
So far, what's been the most successful box office Star Wars film? I'm not sure.
It has to be. It's Force Awakens.
Yeah. So if you're telling me that's the most successful film that they've had from a box office perspective.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that was repeat offenders. People saw that movie more than once.
Oh, yeah.
I know people will do one thing, but they'll pay for another. Like, so a lot of these guys who were complaining about how Force Awakens was so close to New Hope, they were in the closet watching this movie 8-10 times. So
yeah, that's facts.
The same way we penalize DC for not following what works, I'm going to give credit to Star Wars. If you feel that you're going to make more money retreading some of your original themes, it's a nice business decision.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that I disagree to where I say no, they're going to follow suit. This will be Empire Strikes Back part 2. Because they're like, nope, it worked last time. Mr. Johnson, we want the same exact film that we made in the 80s. So, yeah, I think that everybody's fears will come to light in this movie.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, we'll see. I hope they just switch it up just a little bit. But as far as like with like you said, like with it working, because I had no problem with Force Awakens. I enjoyed it. I just think, okay, maybe they were like afraid of fandom, because fandoms, they like to turn a lot on franchises sometimes, especially when they're going
a la prequel.
Yeah, so I don't know if they really want to go against the fandom right now. So I think they might have switched it up just a little bit, so it's like, okay, the fans will play it safe, but at the same time we'll take risks with certain elements of the story.
So let's talk about the risks that they will take. Here are my predictions.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe history tends to repeat itself in this universe. It's something that we've seen.
Yeah.
We've seen it with Anakin was too old for his training. So was Luke. Anakin's legal guardians were murdered. So was Luke's. With that said, I think there are going to be some themes that have to be present in this film that were present in the first 6 episodes. So my first prediction is Luke is heading away from the light. And I think we'll see Luke go to the dark side.
That I agree with.
All right, so it's not a bold prediction. I know there's been a couple of predictions on that online. I honestly think that the reason he's in solitude anyway, it's probably to protect him from interaction with other human beings, since he probably has been on the dark side more than once that we haven't seen on the screen. So we saw some of his dark side tendencies at the end of Return of the Jedi.
Did you hear about the theory, like, it's like if you ever look at like the Star Wars posters, the villain is always
yep, the big guy's always the enemy.
And I thought it was pretty cool because like when I saw like the little meme, And then the last picture was just Luke in the background. I was just like, whoa. And I was just like, you know what? That would be pretty interesting. Like him being in the dark side, potentially. So.
And so tell me this.
Yeah.
So, you know, I have wow, I have so much I forget. I have 4 kids, right? You listening, right?
Yeah, I'm listening.
That's just crazy. So under what circumstances is it okay? Like, let's say my kid, you know, like my kids do some stuff that are mischievous.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes they'll take cookies without asking.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they won't say, bless you if I sneeze. So, you know, kids are kids. Kids will be kids. Under what circumstances is it okay for me to discipline my kids? And by discipline, I mean kill.
Nothing, never.
You sure? You positive?
Yeah, I'm positive.
All right. So the fact that I think it's a given, Luke is the one that killed most of his students that were at that Jedi school. I don't even think that's a prediction at this point. I think that's what's going on in Rey's flashbacks. So
wow.
I don't think it's ever a good excuse to kill students.
Wow.
It's no different than what Anakin did with younglings.
Wow. Because this whole time I've been thinking that's Kylo Ren that did that, like with him and the Knights of Ren.
Kylo Ren was with the gang. He was with the squad.
The Knights of.
So he couldn't have been the one that. Come on, man. It's like Kylo Ren probably got a lot of them to be like, look, Luke doesn't. That's my uncle, man. He's been tripping since he was a kid. My mom tells me all the time. He doesn't know what he's doing. By the way, he's holding back. He's not teaching us everything we need to learn. And I think Luke, you know, killed him. It's like, okay, you know, they obviously rebelled, but I don't ever think it's a good excuse to kill kids ever. That's like equivalent. Okay, you're going to the dark side. That's equivalent to my kids not saying bless you when I sneeze. Come on, man. It's a way. Come on, man. Come on, dude. That's no different than what your dad did. And that's really what pushed Anakin over the edge when he started killing little kids. So to piggyback off my first prediction, if Luke heads to the dark side, I don't think we need a Sith Lord menace in this universe because they'll pale in comparison to Luke being the ultimate force of evil. So with that, I believe Rey and Kylo Ren join forces in this movie to defeat Snoke. Because I think after Luke basically goes to the dark side, I don't know if you need a Snoke around anymore. You know, you just really need only one menace. And believe it or not, this franchise is not afraid to kill good villains, a la Darth Maul.
Yeah, because there's been so much buildup with Snoke. I mean, he has such a you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of the fans, like they're so many different theories, so many different things. Yeah, like with Snoke. Like with me personally, I think he's the first Jedi. Like I think like that's gonna be like his backstory, and I think it's gonna tie back to, I guess, Luke being the last Jedi, like something like that, like where it's just like where everything is just tied together with Rey as well, and there's gonna be like a tug of war between. That's what I thought it was gonna be, like basically like a tug of war between Luke's influence and Snoke's influence on Rey, as well as Kylo Ren. I think there's going to be a lot of that going on in this film, but that would be pretty interesting, like where it's not exactly where Snoke is not exactly like the main boss villain for this trilogy, actually going to be Luke, which would be pretty cool. So,
and I keep forgetting that he's not they're not humans. So like whenever I look at Snoke and the whole Mace Windu thing, and I'm like, nah, because Snoke is too old. You know, but I'm like, oh, I forgot. Yoda was like 15, you know, like he was a teenager on his planet, but he was like 100,000 years old or something. So I'm like, oh, I forgot that these guys, they could be around forever. So it's like, he could very well be the first Jedi. I'm not going to agree with you fully on that, but no, yeah. So that theory has some lags. And I think it's obvious from the trailer that Rey won't finish her Jedi training, just like Anakin didn't finish his Jedi training. Yeah,
that's facts. That's definitely gonna happen. Because you already could tell, like Luke's gonna just be like, "Yo, I'm out." Like midway through.
Yeah, and that's not his first time quitting.
Yeah,
he quits more than like a member of the Alcoholics Anonymous or something. So yeah, I'm not surprised. He's like, "Look, I'm out. Yep. I'm used to quitting. It's not really that big. Trust me, you'll be fine. I quit too.
Like I'm scared.
You'll be totally fine. Somebody else will train you." And in Luke's mind, it's like, I'm not doing this again. You know, my dad was too old for the training. and look what happened. I was too old for the training, and I'm going to the dark side in this movie. So, and this is my impression of Luke, by the way. So, now I'm going to the dark side. And same thing to my nephew. Fourth time won't be a charm. I've learned my lesson. Ray, I can't train you. And I think in the trailer, when you hear that person saying the first time, I found you or whatever, the power, blah, 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 blah. He might not even be talking to Ray.
You think he's talking to Kylo?
Might be. Because if somebody's going to the light on this film, Kylo Ren everything that happened to Vader between the first 6 films has happened to Kylo in Star Wars Force Awakens. Yeah. So he's been forced to grow up a lot. Look, like I lost a parent, right? Mm-hmm. And by the way, he's about to lose another parent.
Yeah.
Preview alert. We'll get to that later. So I think that if you put everything that happened to him in Force Awakens and that happened to him to preface that movie, I'm like, wow, like this guy's only a teenager, but he's gone through the same amount of grief that Anakin went through. Like by the time Anakin was like 40. So I'm like, nah, man, and some of that, it weighs on you, man. And I think if it's a path back to the light, they've kind of set it up to where he's going to be redeemed in this movie. So, those are my predictions with that. So another thing that's coming up, man, this guy Snoke, a lot of people want to find out who he is. Some people believe that we've seen him before in this universe.
I don't think so.
Or some people just want to know who he is. You mentioned the first Jedi. So I do believe that we'll find out Snoke's identity in this movie. You mentioned the first Jedi. Could you expand on that a little?
Just like with his scars and stuff, like he looks like somebody that's just been through and him being the first Jedi, I think maybe he just saw like, okay, maybe because if you notice, whenever you're force sensitive, like you're dealing with both sides of it. You're dealing with evil and the light. So I think whatever scars he went through, battles he went through, I think it really changed him, and I think that's what made him turn to like the dark side or whatever. And I think that's what we're gonna see like with his backstory. So in regards to Snoke's identity, I love that we have so many theories going around, but once again, I'll reiterate, I don't think Snoke is anyone that we should know who he is. I don't think he's been present in the other films. Yeah, me either.
So I'm tossing that Mace Windu thing, because if you did set him up as Mace Windu, they would have used Samuel L. Jackson as the voice. Otherwise, there would have been a large outcry on why can't, a black man voice Snoke or something like that. Disney is in tune with some of those diversity pressures in Hollywood right now. So to me, I'm throwing that out the window. I don't think he's trained other enemies. Like some people say, well, he's the one that was secretly training Darth Vader. So, all this other stuff. So if he dies, he's probably training other people secretly and they'll rise up to defend his honor. I don't think so. I do think he's, he might bite it in this film, and I don't think anybody's really going to care. So nobody will come back for, to avenge him. So I think he's just going to be some new character. We see the books that are in the first trailer. You saw the books, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's basically some books. It looks like they were in the cave of where Luke is. And that's something that George Lucas did not want in this film. He didn't want any type of printed material. He didn't want any type of printed material in this universe. So the fact that we see books about the Jedi, wow, this stuff is older than we think. Snoke may be an old guy. So I think we find out who he is. He's just some guy who probably Yoda put him in his place years ago, and he had to go into solitary confinement. Because, as soon as you get whooped in this universe, you basically have to go hide for 100 years. So I'm pretty sure Yoda or somebody put him in his place back then, and he had to go hide. And, until Luke probably found him. So as for the other characters, let's get into those guys, because there's barely any force sensitive people in these universes anymore.
Yeah.
So with the other guys, like your Finns, your Captain Phasmas, your Princess Leia's, what's going to be happening with those guys?
It was funny because when I was doing research for this, I thought something interesting. Do you think Finn could be force sensitive?
No. I already heard about that, he's been hiding it all this time. There was way too many situations where it was he was in a life or death situation and he would have used it there. And also keep in mind, Kylo Ren sensed the Force from Rey. So as much as you want to call him a weakling in that movie, his his scouter senses is on point. So the fact that he didn't notice it in Finn and how Finn got murked, you saw what happened when his back got cut up. Ain't no Force on that guy.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, so I don't. I
thought it was just an interesting theory.
I don't think he has to be. I think they're setting him up to be. A lot of people think it's Poe, but I think they're setting him up to be the new Han Solo. It's like, nah, he's just a cool guy who doesn't have powers. Just a cool guy.
Yeah.
So I think he's pretty lame in the first one, but I think he's starting to get his legs up under him. You see him dressed out, looking, like a Mac in this trailer. So as for the other characters, one thing that they usually have to deal with, because what they do in these Star Wars films, it's like musical chairs to where, hey, let's put the Force sensitive guys on the planet on their own and have them battle. Meanwhile, we'll have the, side characters battle the Death Star, to keep that part action packed. I don't think we'll see Death Stars in this movie. I think the First Order's funding finally got cut and they're just going to stick to what they're good at, which is numbers. These guys have an army. So if you want to destroy somebody, stay away from the Death Star. It's costs way too much labor costs, and just focus on using your army. And we'll see more like a tactical battle this time. This means hand-to-hand combat. Also, I'll give you aerial battles. But if they do that, I think it will be best I think this will probably be the best action that we've gotten from a Star Wars film to date. And I hate it when characters fight a ship or a Death Star, and I want to see them fight each other, like hand-to-hand stuff. They brought in the actors from the Raid movie last time, and I thought we were going to get a lot of cool lightsaber fights. So I think they were saving it for the sequel.
Yeah. I think the action is definitely going to. You just see it within the trailers, like, okay, like they're elevating this scale of the action with this. So I definitely would agree with that. Like, just from the shots of sabers and just like you said, with like the with some like the war battles and stuff, it looks really, really cool.
It looks awesome. I can't wait to see it. My last prediction before we move on to the next section.
Yeah.
Other than the prequels, when something happens in a Star Wars film, there's a reason for it. Like nothing, and I thought Force Awakens did this good as well. Like there wasn't any noise. Like sometimes in the prequels, something will happen and you'll be like, that didn't go anywhere. Like, why did I need to know that? Is that going to be important in an upcoming film? Oh, and it falls flat. It has no meaning, no significance to the universe. So, other than the prequels, I believe when something happens in a Star Wars film, it bears some type of weight. So I think we get a Force Ghost in this movie, just because that was something that was established in the original trilogy. They didn't do anything with that technology in the prequels. So the fact that there's life after death and you could get that guidance from a Force Ghost, I think this will be the perfect time to get some of that. So I do believe that we'll get some of the benefits of living while you're dead, and we'll see a Force Ghost appear in this movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'll be pretty cool. Because like you said, like back then they didn't really have the tech to do it, so it wasn't cool on the screen. But with what they can do now with everything, it will, and the timing of the sequel and everything, I think it will be perfect to have that influence in the film. So.
And this is another reason why I think Luke has flirted with the dark side, because he was probably abandoned by the Force ghosts of Obi-Wan and Yoda, which is why you see the books in the trailer. Like, why are you reading books? Like, Yoda should be there to help you. But I'm like, they probably gave up on him because he's like, look, Luke, you are tripping, dude. You're just like your dad. Yeah. Like, come on, man. You're not gonna listen to me? I'm not gonna talk to you no more. He's like, all right, fine. I'm just gonna go check these books out from the library and I'll learn it myself. So
just to agree with what you're saying, like with Rey, she's gonna be in so much time with in seclusion. They're gonna deal with her past. They're gonna reveal her parentage. They're gonna show what happened to those kids, in the school and all that stuff. So this seems like the perfect timing to use, a Force Ghost. Exactly.
Somebody has to tell her, look, child, the training ain't that important. Everybody skips it. So just go help out. A Jedi wouldn't tell her to help out her family because you can't give in to your own desires, but whatever. since Luke and his nephew Kylo aren't on speaking terms, the only way for Kylo, and this is another part, the only way for Kylo to learn about Darth Vader's, last moments, because last moments he went to the light, and a lot of people don't know that other than Luke. And shame on Luke for not snitching. Like, why would you let your dad take that to his grave? I think it'll be awesome if he gets some type of feedback from Anakin. The only reason I think they're nervous to do that is usually when you bring in Anakin Skywalker, it causes problems with the fan base. You have to bring in Darth Vader, and as we seen in the episode 6, he's not a Force ghost as Darth Vader. He's a Force ghost as Anakin. So So that's that. But let's get into the fun stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think this part is easier to predict because a lot of people got the predictions right on Force Awakens on this. Like, who will die? A lot of people thought one of the members was going to bite it. And they said it was going to... Well, one of the original members of the Trinity, Luke, Leia, and Han, one of them are going to die. So speaking of dead people, who will die?
I think, okay... This one, like you said before, it's gonna be pretty easy. Only because R.I.P. Carrie Fisher. But I think Leia, this is it. Like she's gonna die in this one. I'm not sure how though. I keep going back and forth. Like
don't go back and forth. you trust the Force.
All right. I think Kylo is not gonna kill her. Like
keep going. Keep going. You're right.
If we're staying with this prediction, I'm trying to see. Are you saying that Luke is gonna kill her? If we're staying with this prediction that he's gonna go to the dark side?
Nah, I don't think Luke got that in him. Nah, okay. Luke ain't going that far to the dark side. Like the only person he hated was his daddy. Remember, he loved his sister, loved her so much they kissed. But I think Leia. First off, let me agree with you. I think Leia must go. May God rest her soul. Carrie Fisher will be truly missed. However. I think they tie a director's hands in this franchise if General Leia is kept alive. It's just too difficult to manage that. And we've seen this happen in The Sopranos when a meaningful character passes in real life, you find a way to give them a nice exit strategy. So I believe Snoke is the one who will pull the trigger. And I think this is going to be the straw that broke the camel's back between him and Kylo Ren. I do believe the studio probably originally wanted to kill off Luke. However, after the news of Carrie Fisher, I don't think you want to kill all members of the Trinity. I just think, okay, look, Luke, originally you were supposed to die. Instead, we're going to make you a villain. However, we've already killed off Han, and if we have to kill off Carrie, so we can't kill off Luke. There has to be some surviving remnant. So I think Snoke is going to be the one to pull the trigger. And I think that'll elevate him as a villain, whether they kill him or not, because Darth Maul was a nice villain. He took out some heavyweights, so I think if Snoke is the one to take out General Leia, it'll just be a nice part of his legacy from an evil perspective. And this is what's going to cause Kylo to team up with Rey to kill Snoke. And I think this is going to push Kylo to the, light. He's like, what? The dark side causes you to kill a person who surrendered. Like, General Leia was obviously surrendering. By the way, she was surrendering on my behalf. Because she didn't want me to get hurt. And
remember that pep talk she gave with Han, she was just like, yo, go save our son. Like he's still in there. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like she knew the light is still in him.
The only light, you sure the light wasn't in Han? And that wasn't light, that was a lightsaber. I don't know if she had right projections on that.
No, she believed in her son.
A theme in this movie is mothers are very important. Like the love of, for Anakin, the love Anakin had for his mother caused him to go to the dark side. The love that basically Kylo has for his mom might be strong enough to bring him back to the light. So yeah, I just think fathers come a dime a dozen in this franchise, and they're usually deadbeats. It was a bad idea for Han to take that leap of faith, to take that leap of death, So it's like, I think General Leia, and that'll be a nice send off too. She dies, bringing her son back to the light, So
no, but even in that situation, like where you see he gets stabbed, like he's his son's face, like even though you're killing me right now, I still have love for you, and then you can see it on Kylo's face, like damn, what did I just do? In a way, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I don't know if I saw
it
that.
It didn't feel,
I don't know if I saw that.
No, to me, it didn't. Like, it didn't ease.
I don't know if I saw
ease,
that. I'm not sure.
It didn't ease.
Did you watch it in 1080p?
I did. I watched it in 1080p IMAX.
Because I was gonna say sometimes that Kylo was that something like that pushes you over the edge. Like, I don't know if you watch gangster movies, but it's like, that's like a defining Nino Brown moment. That's like when Nino Brown killed the school teacher. It's like, there ain't no coming back from that. You're no longer redeemable.
No, but I don't think. No, I think, but that's the point. Why is he still conflicted then? You know what I'm saying? Like, if he killed his dad and that was supposed to be the be all end all, that's supposed to, like, okay, now I'm fully in the dark side. But yet we still see him conflicted. To me, it didn't serve its purpose. It didn't accomplish what he thought it would do.
All right,
that's what I'm trying to say.
All right, that's that. But all right, so far we have Leia dying. I have Snoke dying. So you got one, I got two.
Mm-hmm.
Who else is going in this movie? I think it's one more person. You're just not thinking of him.
Poe?
I don't think Poe's going anywhere. I think Poe's team is going to die. But I think they're setting up Poe to keep him in his back pocket. Because if you remember, there was a lot of rumors before they announced Rogue One and the Solo's standalone picture that they wanted to focus on, Poe and his team. So I think that Star Wars knows what they got with him. And they're like, nope, he's a good actor. Like from a Academy perspective, this guy's going to be, he's going to be a heavyweight when it's all said and done. So let's keep him as a trophy. He's not going anywhere. I think a lot of his pals are. However, Captain Phasma is dead.
Yeah. That's true.
I think Brianna Tarth wasn't what we expected.
That's facts.
Yeah, and this Finn's gonna get revenge on this movie. So in Force Awakens, a lot of stars were born, pun intended, but Phasma wasn't one of those stars. So the universe would survive without her. Finn hits women. Not a good sign if you're looking to get into a relationship with Rey, but Finn is going to kill her.
Yeah, you can see it in the trailer. Like, I think that lightsaber battle, like, I think that's gonna be like her end.
It's not a lightsaber it's that tech that they gave the stormtroopers since they have bad aim.
Okay. Yeah, that gun thing. I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's something like that. I think I would have to rewatch the trailer, but I'm like, okay, cool. Like, now that's another thing. I like the new devices that they're bringing in this universe. So, but I think Phasma's gone. I think it's a given. I think Snoke, maybe a 50% chance. I think Leia is like 99.9%. She's out of it. So those are my three. And usually you only really get one significant death a movie. So the fact that they'll have 2.5, that'll be good. So it means that they're pulling out all the stops. So another thing, which is everyone wants to know, who's Rey's father?
And I think
and Luke says it's not what you think. And when Luke says that in the trailer, this is not going to happen the way you think or whatever, that just sounds like, I don't know. It really sounds like a Maury Povich episode. I'm not the father.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're really trying to be funny, but I'm like, this sounds like Maury Povich. But who's Rey's father?
I still think it's Luke. I still think it's a Skywalker.
Hold on, you just think who?
Rey's a Skywalker.
Yeah, but you're hedging your bet because that could mean that's Leia's daughter, or that could mean that's Luke's daughter.
Luke's daughter.
Stick to your guns.
Luke's daughter.
All right, just making sure, because some people thought maybe she's Han's daughter and Luke force wiped Kylo's memory to protect her. But you obviously know Han knows who she was, because every time the question came up, who is this girl? It would cut away. And then the fact that Leia knew to hug her, it's like, oh, come here, niece. I really think that connection was established when she was younger. It's Luke. It's not a question. She's a Skywalker. I think a Star Wars film without a Skywalker in the leading role is not a Star Wars film. These days, we like to call those anthology movies. So Luke's the father, and I think he's going to deny it at first, like a Maury Povich episode. But in the case of Rey, Luke, you are the father. I think it's no question. So this is what will happen. In my opinion, or in my prediction, Luke will tell Rey he knows who she is. He'll probably tell her about her mother. just like a smoking mirrors type thing. Like, I knew your mother. You remember what Obi-Wan did to him? Like, hey man, I fought with your dad. Your dad was pretty cool. Remember that?
Yeah.
But he never told him his dad was, Anakin was Darth Vader. It's gonna be a situation like that. Like, it's like, hey, I knew your mother, man. She was pretty awesome. She died. She used to help out with the school, help out the younglings and stuff like that. But yeah, she was an awesome person. And I think she's gonna be so relieved from that. She's not even gonna care about who her father is at this point. So it's like, but eventually Rey's going to find out and she's going to be pissed. And if you need something to push her over the edge, like, hold on, you're my dad. You owe me some type of companionship and you didn't want to train me? And by the way, you're about to train Kylo? Hold on. Time out. Snoke's right. You are tripping, sir. If this is what the light is about, I don't want to be a Jedi. I'd much rather be a Darksider. You know what I mean? I don't know if they're calling them Siths nowadays, but yeah. So I think that Luke's the father. She'll find out about her mother early in the film, but later on in the film, Luke will admit to either being her father or Snoke will snitch. And I think that's going to piss her off. And she'll want revenge from that perspective. Side note, anyone who owns that blue lightsaber, it's not a good look. Every owner has gone crazy and tried to kill a family member. The first owner, Anakin, killed his wife. Second owner tried to kill his father. And now, good luck with that, Rey.
Yeah, that's facts. I never thought of it like that.
Bro, I tell you, history repeats itself, man. History always repeats itself. Like, hold on. The lightsaber is calling out to her. Uh-oh. Because the last two people that it called out to, it wasn't a good look. So I'm like, something's in that girl. And I'm just thinking about, I grew up in the hood and I just know like that does a lot to a person. When you grow up without parents, you were abandoned as a child, forgotten about. You waited every day. Like like I'm not going to call my father out, but my parents were split. My dad would always say, I'm coming to pick you guys up around 7. I used to stay up till like 2:00 in the morning and then, nothing happened. So it's like, I know how that feels with the child. And it's like, no, like for you to be so young, I don't expect you to be, the bigger man in that situation or bigger woman in your case, Rey. No, you're going to have to give in to some of your emotions. You're going to be angry when you find out why he really left you. Because when you explain to a kid, I had to abandon you because for your own safety, they're not going to want to hear that. You could have made a way because you seem pretty safe on that island, and you just chilling right now. Nice weather. I could have been here with you because I was alone already.
Yeah.
So why couldn't I at least had you all this time?
Yeah. Like you see that clearly in the first movie, like she's really damaged from that. Like it's not something like she took lightly. So
every day.
The fact that all that's going to be unearthed in this movie and she's dealing with the Force and all that stuff, it's going to affect her.
But so we're not the only ones who made predictions. We asked you guys. So I'm going to read some of these predictions. We asked you guys for your 2 cents. So let's hear what you guys thought. We asked for your Last Jedi predictions. Settlers of Natan, huge supporter of the Patreon. If you're not supporting the Patreon, give it a shot. That's how we actually make these podcasts. So support us. But Settlers of Natan writes, I really hope they commit to the gray side of the Force going forward in the Star Wars universe where Kylo Ren and Rey abandon their side of the Force. I feel that this would add a whole new interesting dynamic to the universe where Force-sensitive beings don't have to choose a side, but live in the morality of their own characters. I would love that. I think Luke flirted with that gray side. In the past, it's like, you don't have to be all light, all dark. Because some of the ways of the Jedi I don't agree with. Like, it's dumb. Like, they treat life like it's not really important, yet they fight to protect their lives sometimes. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I'm like, that's BS. That's political. But like they talk about the gray side of the Force where it's you really use morale to really judge what's right and what's wrong in this particular instance. I would love to see that in this universe. On Facebook, Ross Grimes Smith writes, Snoke is revealed to be Sam Jackson's character. Finn was with the First Order all along. Kylo suddenly sees the error of his ways. Kylo doesn't want to do it, but he's basically forced, pun, to kill Leia. So that's that. Stephen Osborne Jr. writes, Right before Kylo is about to kill Leia, Anakin, as a Force ghost, comes to stop him, effectively bringing him into more conflict and eventually back to the light. Snoke is revealed to be the first Jedi ever, but also who fell to the dark side, but we don't know why until episode 9. A Bollywood-style dance breaks out and this is his third prediction. A Bollywood-style dance breaks out at the end because why not? I disagree with that last point, but interesting first two. Alexander Bethia writes, the movie destroys the box office, $2.8 billion worldwide, beating Avatar. Please. He's begging for that. I don't think anything could beat Avatar now. It's unfair. They don't have a long enough runtime in theaters. So the Germinator writes, we'll get some rehash scenes of V, Empire, basically. And also, the New Republic never joins the fight. Sad face. And he also writes another one. Phasma or Snoke is Rey's parent. Everyone knew her before her memory was wiped to keep her safe or some crap like that. I do think memories were wiped in this film, so I agree with them on that. We have a lot of these on the YouTube community. So I'm just going to read some of these. I'll read a couple. But Kevin Bacon is a Sith Lord. I don't say, you know what's funny? Hope. So I looked up actors that Johnson, the director, has, routinely worked with. And one of them was Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Yeah. It's been on 2 films, but I really couldn't find a pattern because, everyone has their muse. Yeah. And I just think Joseph Gordon-Levitt is too old to play, too young to play Snoke. But I do think we'll see him pop up in probably the TV series that he's trying to do. So we'll see. So also some
that's a cool theory. Yeah.
Yeah. So but they brought up Kevin Bacon as a Sith Lord. I'm like, does this have any weight? Where did he get that from? But that's just hilarious. But Small Beans Productions, right? The Porgs will kill everyone and take over the galaxy. Algie Arc writes, Luke goes genocidal and Rey teams up with Kylo to stop him. Hugo the Dog, Snoke is Jar Jar. Anton Klutz writes, Rey will join the dark side and Kylo Ren the light side. I like that. So and Aaron Yeager puts Poe dies. So a lot more. It's like 79 of these predictions. So if you haven't added it, go to the YouTube community and do that.
I'm feeling this. Jar Jar is Snoke. I don't believe that one.
Bro, that was a lot. A lot of people believe that. But yeah, I think they've learned their lesson about putting that guy in movies. Yeah. So yeah, I think they want to stay away from the prequels as much as possible. That's the only reason why I don't think we'll see. Well, we won't see a young Anakin Force Ghost. They'll probably just recast it if that's the case. So,
and I heard a theory he was in like one of the original scripts, like with either Force Awakens or this one, like where they had Anakin, like, and it was gonna be Hayden Christensen scrapped it.
Yeah, scrapped it quick.
Yeah.
One thing about Disney, I'm not surprised. A lot of stuff makes it into the scripts because remember these guys got to sell toys. Remember they got a show with Anakin on it. So it's like, the cartoon. So whatever they could do to do a callback to their animated franchises or, stuff like that, you're always going to see it in these films. But it's like the director or the producer's job to be like, that's not going to work. Look what the fans are saying. Disney listens to their community a lot. So, yeah. I really want to hear what you guys think. So hit us up on our Patreon comments, Facebook comments, and just let us know some of your feedback there. I want to hear some of your predictions. It's about that time. Thanks for joining us today, guys. Before you leave, if you like what you heard, share it with a friend on Apple Podcasts or wherever you go for your podcast. Don't let this be the last time we hear from you or you hear from us. Support the show and become a sponsor by visiting our Patreon at www.patreon.com/CouchTomatoFilms. Also, join us next week and check the show notes on where to find us weekly. It's Couch Tomato Films on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, and Couch Tomato Film on Twitter. Other than that, peace.